Hello and welcome to PlayStation Racer. My name is Mitchell Morgan and today we're heading back to Europe for another World Circuit race. This time it's going to be at the 24-hour Le Mans, but before we do that I'm just going to dive in and check the race difficulty. We've been doing some grinding, so I'm going to set that back to normal, which is the difficulty that we are using for these videos. We're then going to head over to Le Mans for the World Touring Car 800. Now, first thing I need to do is to pick a car, and we could go for one of the G1 cars. The Supra is something I often go to. I've also got the Ford, but this is my grinding track, and I'm actually going to go with my favourite car, the BMW VGT. I've got my full beans set up on with the soft tyres, so the ECU, the power restrictor, etc. is all maxed out. Otherwise, everything is pretty standard, as you can see. So if we head over into the race, this is going to be the World Touring Car 800, 5 laps of the 24-hour Le Mans track with the 2 chicanes. So the first thing I'm going to do is to knock the power setting back to 5, which should get us to the end of the race. My strategy for this one, assuming there's going to be no weather, is to try and get to the end of the race on these soft tyres and without pitting, and also making the assumption that the cars around me are going to pit at least once. Now if we can get through the traffic, that's going to be even better, and we've already got past Wilk and we're already on the back of these 2 cars, so making some good passes even this early in the race, which was a little bit surprising. Just got into the back of the Porsche a little bit there. Just need to slipstream down these long straights. This is key in this race, is slipstreaming, especially as a number of the cars that are in this race are going to be significantly quicker than us. I think the Viper is in this one, and if it is, that Viper is jolly quick around here. But he's going to need to pit a couple of times. So just watching for the first of the chicanes. This is the right-hander, needing to get it slowed down and just watch for track limits. Very often I step over the white line and pick up a track limit, which is going to hurt around here if we're not careful. I will go through my braking points and gears, etc. in a moment, but this is a very long lap and I'm just going to leave this to run for the moment. So just watching how the tyres are wearing and also the fuel situation. So the tyres seem to be wearing okay at the moment, no real visible signs of wear, and we've got 4.7 laps of fuel remaining with about 4.7 laps to do. So it looks like having the fuel map on 5 is good. With the fuel saving that I'm doing by changing up early, around about halfway up the rev band, that doesn't tend to worry the VGT too much with regards to the performance. We can get away with that, but it will help on the fuel economy. So hopefully that will bring the available laps up a little bit. And towards the end of the race, if we... Whoa! The Corvette got way out of shape through there and collected us. That's going to have damaged the front of our car. Although it's not showing any damage on the screen, so I think we might have got away with that, but boy was he sideways out of there. Don't know what the AI is playing around at the moment, but we managed to get past him, which is pretty good. Completely lost my train of thought there. I can't remember at all what I was talking about, so let's just get back into the race and see how we're doing as we enter the closing stages of this particular race. This little section that's coming up I really enjoy. This is probably the only really technical section on this track, other than the little section after the start. Otherwise it is very much just a simple drag where you want to try and get on the back of somebody and then just use that slipstream for them to pull you along. And I've also found as well, bump drafting. When we race online, you do a lot of bump drafting on this particular track so that the 2 of you can get closer to the leaders. The AI really doesn't like bump drafting. If you run up behind somebody and bump them, they're pretty much going to move out of the way, but you don't get that same bump drafting effect in here, so that's not a technique that I particularly use. You then got two effective chicanes here, so you've got a left and a right for this one. We can take loads of curb. Needing just to be careful of the Mazda there, and then a second one which is much tighter, and then we come up to the start finish lap to start another lap. So just talking about that, at the moment we're just building up through the gears. You want to stay over to the left a little bit and then sweep across the track, although I've got that faster Mazda coming back at me. I normally try and hug that right hand curb, but the Mazda was getting in the way. Down to third through these two, making sure you don't run too wide onto that green area, because you can get a track limit if you're not careful. Fourth through here, and again as you come down into this corner, brake nice and early where that little grey patch is on the right hand side. As you come down into fourth, just going to come up the inside of the BMW and then take a lot of this curb. Don't take too much, try and keep two wheels on the curb, but take a lot of curb, and that would give you a real overtaking opportunity through there. Again, fourth gear I think I was using for that one. Then up through the gears as soon as you can for this huge long straight down to the first chicane. So we are needing to slipstream the Supra in front of us that is slightly quicker, but we've got to be very minded of where our braking point is. So sometimes you might want to hang back a bit. My braking point is as the alcove opens up there, and where there are some stewards in orange. Couldn't really see on that occasion because I was too far over to the left, but that tends to be my braking point, and then bury the brakes down into I think it was third gear I go through there. As we come up to the next of the chicanes, we've got the Audi doing a pass on us, another very fast car. We're watching out for the meter boards on the right hand side here. So you go 3, 2, and as soon as you see the last one, number 1, bury the brake pedal down into third, and sometimes I'll just lift or brake midway through that corner just to settle the car down so that you can get a really good exit out of that particular chicane, and you want to get as much speed as you can down this little part of the straight to the notorious tight right-hander. When you're grinding this in the wet, the amount of cars that fly off is amazing. And for here, I normally brake actually on the apex of that corner, just as it starts to cut across to the right is where I brake really heavily and get down into third gear. Then try and get on the back of one of the cars. As I said, the Viper is super quick in this race, so just tucking in behind the Viper, but unfortunately he is going away, he's too quick for us, and just getting up through the gears as quick as we can. So this is the next corner where you can be really brave. I don't know if I'm going to get away with it with the cars in front, but I tend to not brake until I get to that right hand side curb and then bury the brake pedal down into third, get it turned in there, try not to run into the back of the Viper, and again down into second for this corner, just braking on, I think it was the 50-meter board. I'm going to need to go back and have a look at that. It was all happening too quick whilst I was running behind the Viper, and again the Viper is now running away from me as we go up through the gears. So I'm trying to pick up the chicane. Now this time I'm looking for the Michelin blue board on the left hand side, and there is also a little strip of green Astro there. Brake on that really hard, get it down into fifth to apex that corner, apex this one, let it drift out to the barrier, still in fifth, and then I bury it down into fourth gear, or change down into fourth gear midway, just as you get it straightened before that corner, and then that will set you up really nicely for that whole complex. I'm then looking at the marketing boards on the right hand side there, and I pick the one before the last down into third gear for that turn in, being careful not to run onto the outside. We'll cover that in a moment because an awful lot was going on. Third gear through that chicane, second gear through this chicane, taking loads of curbs, just making sure that you try and keep one wheel the right side of the white line. Now interestingly, we've got a few cars that are pitting there, actually quite a few cars, which is a real surprise to have them pitting at the end of the second lap, and that promotes us up into third place with first and second in sight. So this is already starting to look like this strategy may well work. My main aim now is to try and stay with these two cars for the rest of the race, or even get in front of them if we can. We just got past the Nissan, which was a bit of a surprise, and we know that the Nissan and this Supra are really fast down the back straight. Just going to dive up the inside of the Supra. There you go. That is how much extra time you can take through there if you are brave and use that curb. Now I remind you that we are on the normal setting, not the hard. If we were on hard, then that may well not come off, but you can see now the Viper coming back at me really quickly, so I'm going to let him by, move over into his slipstream, and just see if we can pick up a little bit of a toe as we head down towards the chicane. Looking for there where you've got the stewards and where the Arncove sort of moves in a little bit, bury it down into third gear, and then up through the gears as soon as we can, trying to again streamline this Viper and try and get a toe. It's so much quicker than we are down here that there is no way that we're actually going to need to stay with them. I'm still on fuel map 5 at this stage. We've got sort of 2.5 laps to run with 2.9 laps of fuel in the tank. So fuel is looking okay on this fuel setting at the moment. Tyres aren't looking too bad, but we're going to need to keep an eye on those. We are on the soft tyres, so they will start to wear midway through this race, or midway through the second half of this race, I think is where the tyres are going to start to go away from me a little bit. So I just need to be wary that around about the end of lap 3 we might need to start to compensate for a little bit of loss of traction. Down into third gear, second gear just for a bit of turning, over that curb, up into third gear as soon as we can, using all of the track there, up into fourth, and we're really chasing down the Viper. So even though we've got the fastest lap with a 4 minutes 10.6, that Viper is clearly quick and moving away. I'm hoping that they are on fuel setting number 1, which is giving them the power, and that they will need to pit, but at the moment they are 5 seconds and going away. So full beam through there, braking as you get that bit of curb, down into third gear, over that curb, a quick sprint here up to fourth, watching out for the 50-meter ball, bury the brake pedal, down into third, second. I've gone a little bit deep on that occasion, I just missed my braking point slightly whilst talking, and although this is my grinding track and I know it backwards, when you're recording and talking you do tend to make the odd mistake, so I apologise for that. So here we are watching for the green strip there, the first of the Michelin boards, watching for the apex, 5th gear through here, just run that curb out to the outside, run this curb, 4th gear as soon as you get it straight, run this curb as well, and then we're looking for 1, 2, 3 and turn. Don't go out too wide. If you go onto those hatchings on the right hand side there, you will get a penalty, and I tend to try and stay well away from there so get a good turn in. You can obviously carry just a little bit more speed through that corner and get closer to those hatchings, but you know, just be really, really careful. And Portilla is pitting. Oh, that's brilliant news. That is going to promote us up into first place, and it looks like this strategy may well pay off. So as we cross the line, we've got 2 laps to run, and we've got 2.3 laps of fuel remaining. The tyres are looking pretty reasonable at the moment. We've got a few more pitting. 3rd and 4th place are also pitting. Looks like they were on the hard tyres. In fact, looks like everybody's running on hard tyres at the moment. I'll remind you that we are on the racing soft, which is by far the quicker tyre. But obviously over this 5-lap race, if we don't look after those tyres, they will start to go away from us as we go through the race. Now, on a video that I had recently, I'll talk about this while we're going down this straight, I had a comment from somebody about using the brake balance where you've got more wear on the rear than the front. And if you look at my tyre wear at the moment, the tyres are not very well worn on the front, but they are wearing more on the rear. So what we could do is we could shift the brake balance slightly forward to try and use some more life out of those front tyres and ease up on the rear tyres, but that will change the feeling and handling of the car. You can get into an understeer or oversteer situation depending on where you've gone with the brakes. I'm not doing that. I prefer to leave the balance of the car as it is, unless, as I did in the race where the comment was, you've got next to nowhere on the front tyres but the rears are really shot. I really should have changed the brake balance in that particular race. But if you do change the brake balance, just negotiating through here, went a bit loud. Oh, gather that up, sorry, totally not concentrating whilst I was talking there, completely missed that one. Yeah, brake balance. If you do change the brake balance, just be very, very aware of the different handling of the car. I think if you move the brake balance forwards, the back goes lighter, so you're likely to get a little bit of a lighter back end, and you know, it might be oversteery, I think. You'll correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, if you will, for those of you that are in the know. So that's the I'm not actually playing around with the brake balance in this one, because the wear, although the rears are wearing more, I'm relatively okay with the tyre wear, and also the feeling of the car. It seems pretty planted at the moment. So coming down to this really fast corner, just stay on the power, brake as you get to that curb, down into third, and that absolutely, I love that particular corner. And when you're in clear air with no other cars around, that is a real beautiful corner where you can really make up some time on the cars behind. So we're currently 19 seconds, I think that is, ahead of the second place runner. I need to concentrate on the driving, so I'm not picking out names. Watching for this green strip in the road, slowing it down into fifth gear, fifth all the way through here. Just be brave. Try not to whack the wall as you go through there, but you want to get as close as you can. Down into fourth for this one. Ride the curb all the way around. 1, 2, 3 on there. That's the boardings. Careful not to go too wide. And that was pretty nice too. Could have probably carried a little bit more speed through there, but that's as comfortable as I like it. Braking halfway down the pit entry into third gear, then down into second for this one, braking just before the two chicanes. So for the first chicane, I'm braking about halfway down the pit entry. You can leave it to the end of the pit entry, but then you've really got to be very, very, very hard on the brakes. For this one, I really just sort of get a feel for where I'm braking. I think it's probably the middle of the boards, but you can just pause and rewind the video and just catch exactly where I am braking for these corners if you wish. Just going a little bit deep, so the rear tyres now are just starting to give up a little bit of their performance. This is probably the time to move that brake balance back, but I'm leaving it where it is, or move the brake balance forwards. I'm leaving it where it is for the moment, and I'm just going to live with the back end just being a little bit slidey at this point in the race. So this is the final lap, and we're now 24, just over 24 seconds ahead. Watching for the stewards to brake heavily into this corner. So right there, you see the Arncove, there's just a little bit of grey tarmac, getting it slowed down, third gear through there. Just being careful of these white lines that we don't overshoot them. Up through the gears as quick as we can. The cars behind are catching, but they are quicker cars. But being this far out in front, hopefully we'll be able to bring this home in first place before they actually catch us. But we are going to need to make the most of these corners. So here we're looking for 3, 2, 1. Brake on that last meter board. It's buried in the trees, so you've really got to be careful and watch out for it. Very often I will pick up the first one, which you can see quite well, and I'll just go 3, 2, 1 and brake, and then just try and carry as much speed through that chicane without running over the white lines too far. For this one, when I'm in clear air, I'm going to line it up, get it straight, and then bury the brake pedal as you get to the apex of that corner. You're not actually on the apex of that corner. You want to be further over on the left hand side so that you can get a nice line across the sharper corner. But where that little kink is just before the tight right hander, it's quite a nice little brake reference point for that corner that's coming up. Obviously, if it's raining or your tyres are badly worn, then you're going to need to adjust that accordingly. But no rain in this particular race, and it doesn't look like we've got any with the look of the sky at the moment. So just being careful through here. I don't want to overshoot it with these tyres. Just wearing a little bit. As I said before, the 50-metre board, or just before the curb, bury the brake pedal, get it turned in. You want to try and get on the power as you go over that curb if you can, but don't stomp on the accelerator pedal too much, otherwise you will go around and you'll be looking at the barrier. So just introduce the accelerator as gently as you can, whilst also trying to get the power down. So down into 5th for this one. Apex that one, out to the wall, apex this one, down into 4th as you come off of the apex. Ride this curb, 1, 2, 3 and turn. Get over on the top of that curb, missing the one on the outside so we don't get a penalty, and then just thread your way through there. Now we're looking for the pit entry. We're going to brake halfway down there as hard as we can, down into 3rd gear, over that curb, over this curb, down into 2nd for this one, over that curb, over this one, and a straight run to the line with 0.4 of a lap of fuel left. So we were okay on fuel, the tyres were looking good, and that is a very nice, easy win for the World Touring Car 800 at Le Mans. 22.5 seconds ahead of the Viper behind. So that might work on the hard settings if you are quicker through a few of the corners where I was a bit conservative. But we did get the gold trophy. No clean race, unfortunately. We must have just tagged somebody somewhere, which is a bit unfortunate. But a nice, easy win at this particular race. Now, I hope that you liked this video and you found it useful. If you have, please hit the like button for the video because it really helps the channel. If you're new around here, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers before my birthday in July. I wanted to get to 1,000. That's not going to happen, but if we can get to 500, that would be fantastic. So please hit the subscribe button. And if you're a subscriber and you're back for more, thank you ever so much for continuing to support my channel. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. For now, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you again on another video coming very soon. Ta-ta for now.